regarding SC 11.
Thank you, Chair Krasinski. I move LC 11 dated 12/17/13 be introduced as a committee bill.
Senator Robin moves LC 11 to be introduced as a Senate bill, and it's dated 12/17/13. Is there any discussion? Any objection? So ordered. Senator Robin.
Any particular order?
The next one is 154.
Chair Krasinski, I move that LC 154 dated 1/15/14 be introduced as a committee bill.
Senator Robin now moves LC 154 dated 1/15/14 to be introduced as a Senate Judiciary Committee bill. Discussion. Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm going to object strenuously to this, and I would like to state a couple of the reasons why I'm doing so. First of all, this was an issue that was very well vetted during the 13th session, and to a large degree, I think we already know what the outcome will be on the floor of the Senate, and it's not going to pass. I think that this is being done for political reasons, looking at the campaign and on a couple fronts, maybe to target a couple of members of the Senate. And also, I think we're seeing this on many levels of government to try to bring other issues into the fray to distract the people when it comes time for election from the real travesty that's happening in the state, and that is what's happening to our healthcare system. And for those reasons, and for the fact that I think there's some major constitutional issues with this bill, I am strenuously going to object to it.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that you may have emotion and passion for whatever might be said in the room today, but the decorum of our Senate, just as in the House, is not to have public speaking or a recognition for any of the senators as to what they say or don't say. So please bear with us. We appreciate you doing so we can take care of the business. Any other comments, discussions? I am going to put a couple things on the record, and I'd like to respond to Senator Cruz's statements. The goal of this bill is being reintroduced to reduce felons' easy access to guns by requiring the background checks on all transfers. Transfers are defined by the bill as sales, leases, or gifts, and basically ownership being transferred, with the exception, of course, of leases that would be long-term. There's been some discussion, misinformation, unfortunately, that if an individual wanted to loan their gun out, such as if I had my hunting rifle, if I wanted to let someone use it for the weekend, that they wouldn't be able to do that without having a background check. That is absolutely wrong. You can, in fact, let someone borrow your gun at the shooting range, or for a weekend, or for some length of time. It's when you are changing ownership of that gun is where the transfer would require a background check. Current law does, in fact, require background checks at retail stores. We've had this in place since 1989 for 24 years. At gun shows, including person-to-person transfers at gun shows since 2000, 13 years now. The existing loophole that I have found and others have seen is the person-to-person transfers that do not occur at gun shows. This bill will address this problem and will in fact provide a broad family exception. OSP, meaning Oregon State Police, background check data has shown us the following. In 2012, there were approval rates of 256,988 gun transfers in the state of Oregon. At that same year, denial transfers for felons was 2,378, approximately 200 per month. In 2013, the approval rate of transfers was 261,128. Both of those represent close to 250,000 or over 250,000 transfers that were validly done through our background checks. The denials transfers for felons in 2013 was 2,215, approximately 180 per month. Regarding my position as an individual senator, I believe in responsible gun ownership. I've owned guns since I was 16 years of age, 15, for over 40 years. I reasonably expect and want to see steps to keep guns out of the hands of felons. I believe that this bill does in fact close that loophole that we currently have and works well with what we've already have demonstrated of keeping some individuals that have not been eligible to have gun ownership in the state that are felons from doing so. I do not support and will not support gun registration. There's been misinformation about what this bill does or doesn't do. It does not have anything, as we've seen in the current background check laws that we have in the state of Oregon, that registration is not part of it. And I guess with that, I want to see, Senator Close, you had come in late. I don't know if you had any comments. We're now looking at the introduction of LC 154.
I apologize, Mr. Chair, I had a family medical emergency that I had to deal with.
I understand. And any comments? We're open for discussion.
Are you going to do all the LCs at once or
No.
individually?
We're doing it individually. We've already introduced LC 11. We're going through numerically, and so we're on the second legislative council draft, which is LC 154.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. My concern is that we did have this legislation last session. It did not have wide support. It did not have the votes to go to the Senate floor. And so I wonder if it is wise for us to be taking this on as a bill. That would be my concern.
And I need to respond to Senator Cruz's statements previously. There was an agreement that the bill was supposed to go to the floor during the last session, during the 2013. That did not occur for political reasons, and at this point I've been assured by the President's office that it will in fact go to the floor and for an up or down vote. And I do believe, as a gun owner for over 40 years, that this is a reasonable step to keep guns out of the hands of felons. Any other comments?
Sure, just one thing, if you remember correctly, I was working on a bill last session as well that would have strengthened the background check system in state police, which is somewhat antiquated and somewhat underfunded, and I think would have done a really good job. It was a bill I was working on. It was basically in the House. At one point in time, the speaker was leaning in that direction, and then the Bloomberg group came in and said no. So I'm wondering who's really running the show here.
Well, Senator Cruz, I don't know who's running the show in the House, but I do know who's running the show over on our side, and this is a bill that was brought as Senate Bill 700. It's exactly the same with the addition of the Amendment -20 that includes for a broader family exception, as well as ensuring that a retail outlet that is doing the background checks for individuals will have the assurance of having immunity from any type of civil suit in the future if they follow the protocol that they currently follow for the last 24 years in doing background checks for items of firearms that they are selling within their own businesses. Senator Dimbrow.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I have, as I believe all my colleagues have, been receiving a number of emails on this topic, and I think most of them reflected the version of the bill that was submitted last year. I think the changes that are in this year's version are quite different. Make it a different bill, and I think address a number of those concerns. I do think that we are in a different place than we were during the last session. My perception was that this bill was one of several that was introduced. There was a lot of controversy over those other bills. I believe that the issue of background checks, criminal background checks, is one over which there's broad consensus, or let's say broader consensus of support to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. I do understand that this is a controversial issue, will continue to be a controversial issue, but from my experience, if there's anything that a lot of people can agree on, it's the importance of keeping guns out of the hands of criminals by a good background check system. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. And lastly, I would say that there's overwhelming public support. 80% of Oregonians have supported background checks for guns that sells and transfers. Again, as Senator Dimbrow just said, I think all of our goals is that we don't want felons to have access to guns when they're not supposed to, and we should take reasonable steps. I do in fact agree with what the NRA has said, guns do not kill people, people kill people. And that is why I believe we need to ensure the background check system is working and checking all to ensure that felons are not having easy access to guns. With that, all those in favor of supporting LC 154 to be introduced as a committee bill will say aye. Aye. Those with no?
No.
Ayes have it, 3-2, and it is now a committee bill. We'll move on to the last one that we have now, is LC 155.
Chair Krasinski, I move that LC 155 dated 12/19/13 be introduced as a committee bill.
All right, Senator Rowland moves that LC 155 dated 12/19/13 be introduced as a committee bill. Any discussion? Any objections? So ordered. And Senator Close, since you were out of the room on LC 11, which I know that you and I have worked on